Hello everyone and welcome back to Curious Kellen. My name is Kellen and today I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's been like learning languages for a year. So my language learning journey isn't exactly straightforward. I started learning French when I was in middle school. I studied French for 2 years and I learned a lot, but I forgot a lot of it. I didn't have a lot of people to practice with. I wasn't as motivated as I am now. So I had 2 years of French under my belt by the time I got to high school. When I got to high school, I ended up taking 2 years of German. And those 2 years of German were a lot different than my 2 years of French because German was the language that I had wanted to learn all along. I thought French was cool, but the reason I learned French is because I thought it was more like German than Spanish was. There were 2 classes, French and Spanish, at my school, and I decided French is probably a little more like German. So I decided to take French then, and when I finally got to high school, there was opportunities for me to take German, so naturally I took German. And because it was a language I wanted to learn, I feel like I learned a lot, and I learned it a lot quicker too. I was motivated to learn, I had a great teacher that was helping me out, and just overall I had a really amazing experience learning German. Now, when everything shut down in 2020 because of the pandemic, in about March is when I really started to kick things into gear. I was, at home alone with my brother, of course, but I didn't have anything to do. And I had such a great time learning German, I thought, I've always wanted to study and learn Chinese. It's a great language, and it has one of the largest numbers of native speakers in all the world. So I wanted to learn Chinese. So my brother and I, we started out learning Chinese together. We did that for a little while. And then by the time the summer came around, I had decided I want to learn languages. So I had created a list of the languages that I wanted to learn based off the ones that are the most popular in the world, ones that are the best lingua francas, ones that have the most native speakers, so on and so forth. So I decided I want to learn, or at least keep studying, German, Spanish, French, Chinese, Russian, and Arabic. And when the summer came around, I started to really practice them. So I taught myself the alphabet for both Arabic and Russian. I continued with German. I continued with French and kind of got back some of what I had lost. And then, of course, with Spanish and Chinese, I spent a lot of my time during the summer on Spanish and Chinese. Then when kind of December came around, I went back to German because that was something I wanted to do. And once school started up again, I started going language by language instead of trying to study them all at once. So I spent a couple months learning Chinese and then Spanish and then German. And when the new year rolled around, 2021, is when I really started to have my method down. So I spent 3 whole months learning French, and I absolutely was incredibly impressed by how much I was able to learn in so short of time. I reached kind of an intermediate level in just those 3 months, and of course I had a lot of knowledge from my previous 2 years, but it was a completely different experience because I was so much more motivated. And right now I'm currently studying Arabic, so I'm trying to learn things in a 3-month period based off of the book by Benny Lewis called Fluent in 3 Months. So it's been the best way for me to learn, I've found, because when I like to learn, and I like to learn quickly, and I put a lot of time into learning. So switching up every 3 months makes it exciting for me, because when I'm just studying one language, closer to the end of that 3 months, I'm thinking, I can't wait to get into the next one. I'm a little bit bored of the language that I'm learning right now. I'm feeling like my learning is slowing down, so switching up to that new language has been really amazing. Now, if I had just stuck with one language for the amount of time of this year and a couple months as well, if I had just stuck with one language, I would be in kind of the lower advanced, maybe intermediate advanced level by now, if I had just stuck to one language. But I wanted to get kind of the basics in all of these languages, and pretty soon I'm going to start learning Russian. So I think what I'm trying to get across here is show you just how much you can actually learn in just a couple, a year. And German, I'm currently at an intermediate level, and these are kind of based on when I last touched up on the language. I need to practice all of them, but German, I was at an intermediate level, Spanish intermediate, French intermediate, Chinese kind of upper basic level, and then right now in Arabic, I'm moving towards kind of an intermediate level. Right now I'm still in the basic area, but moving towards intermediate. Russian even, I haven't done a full 3 months with it, but for the time that I did spend on it, I can read the alphabet and I know a few basic phrases. So I've really brought myself to a level of where I can communicate my basic needs in all of these languages, except maybe Russian. I need to work on that. And it just goes to show that if you're motivated and you really want to learn, you can do so much in 1 year, especially if you're just learning one language. If you're just trying to learn Spanish or French or whatever it is, if you just really take your time and go for that 1 year, you'll see that you can learn so much, especially when you're learning on your own. School is great, especially if you have access to teachers and other students who are motivated to learn. But if you're just trying to learn a language through school alone, it's not going to work out so well, at least in the US. In the US, we have kind of a weird system that's based on memorization and learning vocabulary rather than focusing on understanding and conversation. So it's not the best way to get through, but if you're motivated and you're already learning on your own, having access to a teacher and to other students is really important. So that's pretty much what it's been like for my year. And this section where I'm learning Egyptian Arabic is actually going to be the first time on my channel where I go through a full 3 months, and you can look back through my Arabic videos, my Arabic language journals that I've been doing, and you can see how I've been able to progress. I'm a little more confident in the language. I can talk about more things. And I plan on, once this month comes to an end, to go back and watch the very first language journal that I did and the last language journal that I will do in Arabic, and kind of compare the two so you can see really how much you can learn in just 3 months. So I want you to take away from this video that you can do so much if you just put your mind to it. It's really important to just go for it, and taking stock and looking back through this past year, I can see that I've exceeded my expectations. I would never have thought that I could have learned this fast. If you had told me back when schools had shut down and I just kind of on a whim decided to start learning Chinese, that later I would be speaking Egyptian Arabic, I wouldn't have necessarily believed it. But now that I'm here, I can see that I've really worked hard and come to this point, and you can do that as well. You just have to want it. So if you go back and watch my video on how I learn languages, you can get a more in-depth video about actually the process that I use for learning languages. But I just want you guys to know that it's totally possible if you work hard, and I have my whole life ahead of me to be learning languages. So don't ever get held up on, I'm not fluent enough, I can't understand TV shows yet, I want to be able to listen to music and understand it all. Don't get caught up in that. You have so much time to learn, and I'm really excited for that, because it's kind of interesting seeing kids that have started learning language since they were in first grade or whatever it is, and doing an immersion program and going all the way through the years and coming out almost like a native in the language that they studied, and you think, man, I'm never going to be able to get to that, because they've got such a big head start. But you have so much time to learn. It's a marathon, not a sprint. If you just keep on going, you're going to find that you'll reach a level of fluency that you'll be proud of. So wishing all of you luck. Thank you all for watching. Stay curious, and I will see you in the next video.